On greenwashing, very interested. It seems like it's a fairly narrow provision, but I want to pose a question to see if it might be captured. For financial products, that investment firms, mutual funds, ETFs, and asset managers promote as ESG or saving the world by investing through green, but then it turns out that their highest holdings happen to be in oil and gas companies or other extractive sectors or tobacco companies. Would the new powers give you the ability, or the Bureau the ability, to examine that elements of the financial services sector?
So thank you, Mr. Chair, for the question. Insofar as there's a technical claim being made about the product in question, so in this case, if it's a technical claim about an environmental standard that's being offered in relation to the product, so in this case, if it was an ETF that potentially made a very technical claim on an environmental basis that said not just some generalized kind of, but for which a test would exist, like are you investing or not investing in the clean energy or some sort of greener sector of the economy, then it would afford the commissioner the capacity to be able to evaluate whether or not the test was actually being sufficiently reported back to the consumer. If it's a broader claim, then that's not within the scope of this particular provision.
Okay, thank you very much. I just want to stay on this for a second because it's very important. Most of the asset management flows over the last 5 years have actually gone to companies when they slap on the label ESG to their funds. They're making claims that by doing so, by choosing to invest there, you're saving the planet. I will editorialize and say it's a scam, and I hope that you'll consider putting the financial services companies on notice that you may be able to capture them for their claims and what they're telling investors about what they can do by just saying, and there's multiple entities that do ESG ratings, and they would say, yes, this is high. So if someone promotes the fact that they have a high ESG rating, and it turns out that they aren't really doing that, I would hope that you're going to examine those cases.
So 2 comments, Mr. Chair. One, so as it notes, this provision reverses the onus on who needs to make representations related to the claim in the marketplace. And so this, if it's a technical standard and they're relating claims related to the technical standard, it reverses the onus. And so the entity in place, whether it was a financial company or otherwise, would need to be able to prove that they were meeting the technical standard to the point, the position of the Bureau. Deceptive marketing provisions do apply more generally without the necessity, but the onus is in reverse for the claims for which there isn't a technical standard in place. The other is this does relate to the broader effort underway on financial climate disclosure information reporting as it relates to a whole series of both financial and other entities about how they report on both their GHG reduction commitments and their broader ESG claims. And that very much is not the purview of the Competition Act, but the purview of my financial colleagues.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shane. I'm going to run out of time here. And just to save some folks getting up and around, I'm going to request that we be able to submit questions in writing, as we have done before. I think that's fairly reasonable, because I don't think it's fair to ask the Treasury Board Secretariat individuals, Ms. McLean and Ms. Labrie, because I think it's out of their scope, but I think it's in their department. We often get large legislation that's sent here without telling parliamentarians how many people are required to implement the new programs. I ask it every single time, come to committee, and it's great to have a large group here, but it's all siloed off, and it's unclear to me who's actually looking at the people plan in the Government of Canada. So that's a request we're going to make in writing. Mr. Marion, for the payments, I'm wondering if there's a briefing note you could share with the committee or some analysis on transaction costs, in particular for e-transfers. My understanding is it costs pennies to actually do the e-transfer, but that banks charge $3. I don't care how much fraud is in the system, that's a pretty good profit margin.